Hey writer friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Holly. I'm a writer aspiring to be a published author. And in today's video, we will be sharing with you how we apply our strengths to our writing life. So of course, you can see I've got a special guest here, collabing with Heather Venkat, my twin sister and fellow writer.
Hi everyone. Thanks for welcoming me back.
Yay! So glad to have you back. I'm always excited when Heather's in town because then we know we're gonna have a collab YouTube video together. So this is the video for you guys. So Heather doesn't have an AuthorTube channel, but she is on Instagram and Twitter, so I will link her social media down below, so go follow her.
So the idea for this video actually came from something that happened to me at work. We have some professional development efforts happening at work, and there was this StrengthsFinder 2.0 book, Discover Your Clifton Strengths. Basically, they handed out this book and then you take a little quiz, and it's basically meant to be a way for you to bring out your strengths and not focus on your weaknesses. But this guy, Don Clifton, identified 34 signature themes, and then those themes, once you take the quiz, they end up condensing that into 5 top themes. So those are your 5 top strengths. And then the course is kind of like how you can use that in your work life. But a lot of people also use it for their personal life. And when I looked at my top 5 strengths, I immediately said, this would be really cool to incorporate not just at work, but also outside of work. And obviously outside of work is mostly my writerly life, because everything I do outside of work kind of revolves around writerly things. So then I told Holly about it and had her take the quiz as well. So what happens is this book has a little code in the back of it, and that's how you get the you take the quiz online, and then you'll get a report that you can print out with various details about your strengths. And I just thought it was the coolest thing in the world, because you might feel like you know what your strengths are, but I think that this thing really helps you more kind of objectively figure those out, and it helps you to not feel overwhelmed because it really only focuses on those top 5, so it makes it a little bit more manageable, and then gives you very clear instructions as to how you could, kind of try to incorporate that to be the best person that you can be. And also for us as writers, we want to be, the best writers we can be, and we want to be able to reach our goals. And so I kind of pulled Holly into this with me, and so we thought it would be fun to kind of share that in a video. And if you guys are interested, you could also end up taking your own quiz and figuring out what your top 5 strengths are as well. So
yeah, and so when Heather explains this quiz to me, I was really excited to take it for myself, because I liked that idea that it didn't have you focus on your weaknesses, because if you have your strengths and you also have your weaknesses and you're just always trying to work on your weaknesses, you're just going to kind of be mediocre. You're going to be like, at the level playing field with everyone else. But if you focus on your strengths, then you're going to be like above and beyond, and you're going to be even better than you already are. And so I really liked that concept because I had never seen that before. And I was also really interested to know what my strengths were. And then when Heather said, hey, we can maybe try to see how we can apply this to our writerly life, I was like, I'm in, because I'm always trying to improve my writer life. So I will link the quiz and also the link on Amazon to buy the book in the description box below in case you're interested in taking it.
So we're each just going to start off and list our top 5 strengths, and then we can also say, whether or not you're surprised by any of the strengths. All right, so my top 5 were relator. So we'll explain these later in more detail, but my top 5 were relator, arranger, consistency, harmony, and responsibility.
And then my 5 strengths were futuristic, consistency, focus, discipline, and positivity.
So we both share consistency, but that's the only one. So
that's really interesting. Yeah, we're twins, but we're also very different.
So for me, I was a little bit surprised at not that any of them were in my top 5, but that the relator was my first one on the list, that was my most dominant strength.
I guess kind of too, like futuristic to be like my top one was, it didn't really surprise me that it was in the top 5, but that it was like the very top, because I know I have some other strengths too. So that really surprised me that it really dominated my theme.
All right, so I think what we're gonna do is then go into a little bit more detail, and this is something that if you guys end up taking this assessment, we would recommend that you sort of go through the report, kind of highlight things that stand out to you, and then physically write down, you know, how you can apply these to your writerly life, either just your life in general or your stories. So we both did that, and we won't go into details on all of them, but we can at least go into details on 2 or 3 of them. Okay, so for the first one, relator, it says that people talented in the relator theme enjoy close relationships with others. They find deep satisfaction in working hard with friends to achieve a goal. And then it goes into a little bit more detail in saying that the relator theme pulls you towards people you already know. You do not necessarily shy away from meeting new people, but you do derive a great deal of pleasure and strength from being around your close friends. Once the initial connection has been made, you deliberately encourage a deepening of the relationship. You want to understand their feelings, goals, fears, and their dreams, and you want them to understand yours. So when I read this, again, I was a little bit surprised that it was my first one because yes, I do enjoy close relationships, but I do feel like as an introvert, I am an INFP, I do, you know, very value my alone time, and so that's the only reason why I thought that this one was a little bit surprising, but not so much because I realized even when I'm, you know, alone, you know, if I'm checking social media or, you know, on my email, I am interacting a lot with the writerly community. So this one I actually realized if that's my top strength, I need to make sure that I am engaging in the writer community and making sure that I'm continuing to, you know, build those bonds with writerly people. Beta reading for people, you know, sharing ideas, and even though I don't have an author tube, you know, still engaging in people with the comments on Instagram or Twitter. And I feel like, you know, that tells me that, you know, I'm not alone in this writerly journey. I need to make sure that I continue to you know, to build those bonds with the people in the community, because that's going to help me be able to achieve my goal. And then I also kind of saw it as a character thing as well, like for my writing, because it talks about these deep, close relationships and learning about and sharing people's fears, goals, and dreams. And I thought, that sounds like, you know, my main characters, if you think about their goals, their motivations, and their conflicts. So how I'm going to incorporate this into my writing itself is that I know that when I come up with my characters, I really need to know them inside and out. I need to get to know them like a really close friend, like a family member, know what upsets them, know what they're working towards. Because if I feel that close bond with them, then the readers are going to feel that close bond with them and they're going to feel more connected to them. So I thought that that was actually a really fun thing because when I first read it, you know, I didn't see that there. So that's how I'm going to incorporate relator into my writerly life and my writing.
Yeah, I think that's really cool.
So then the next one was arranger. So that one says that people talented in the arranger theme can organize, but they also have a flexibility that complements this ability. They like to determine how all of the pieces and resources can be arranged for maximum productivity. So the first thing that jumped out to me with this was time management. I'm arranging my schedule so that I have time to write, and that way I can maximize my productivity in my writerly life. But then when I looked at the larger paragraph too, it has a little bit more detail. So it says you're a conductor, and when faced with a complex situation involving many factors, you enjoy managing all of the variables, aligning and realigning them until you are sure you have arranged them in the most productive configuration possible. In your mind, there's nothing special about what you're doing. You're simply trying to figure out the best way to get things done. It also says that you are an example of effective flexibility. And so then when I read that, I realized I can actually apply the arranger strength to my writing itself in the actual kind of plotting and planning process, because, you know, you have to arrange your story from beginning, middle to end. You need to make sure, you know, the climax is happening at the right point, that all of the, you know, pieces of the puzzle are fitting together. And so I realized that actually ties into kind of the plotter in me and makes me realize I need to make sure that I do have a very good plot, have a very good outline and plan before I start my story, because I know that to maximize my productivity, I'm going to be a better writer if I know what I'm aiming for, what I'm going to write next. And I've learned that with kind of past NaNoWriMos where I didn't really plot and I didn't really know where my story was going. And some people can just plow through that, but my story fell apart and I lost NaNoWriMo because I didn't finish that. That was a couple years ago. And so it's funny because I said, oh, this actually makes a lot of sense, not just in my time management aspect, but also in my stories itself and how I kind of plan my stories. And so, for me, this one it fits like a glove. I thought it was just really cool how that fit perfectly. And then the flexibility, I didn't mention that yet, but also says I arrange, but I also rearrange. And so that kind of makes sense for me too. So if I do get an idea while I'm writing my story, I know that, okay, it's okay. How can I kind of fit this in? If I come up with a new character, is there a way that I can fit this character into the story even if they weren't in my original outline? And so knowing that, I can play to that strength while I'm drafting, not freak out and say, this is not in my outline, this is not in the plans, I'm not going to put this in my story, because it could be a really great addition to the story, and it would be a disservice to not put it in there. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
Lastly, so I'm not going to say all of mine, but lastly, and then this would be a good transition to Holly's because she also has consistency. But my third one was consistency, which kind of seems a little bit self-explanatory, but you can still think about these people, they crave stable routines and clear rules and procedures to follow. So, that makes sense. I know that I'm a creature of habit. So if I stop going to the gym, it's good. You're going to have to drag me to the gym to go back. So, but I also realized that this can tie into my arranger strength in that because I know I need that consistency, I need to make sure that I arrange my schedule and give myself that time to actually be consistent. So if I want to edit or write or do, plan out, my social media posts, I need to make sure that I block that out in my schedule. And if I'm consistent, it's around the same time every day. And so I know that, okay, I know that I need to, make a schedule and keep to that. And I have started to do kind of the time blocking on the Google calendars that Marissa Mohi and other people do. I think Brooke Passmore also, she did a video.
Brooke and Bethany.
Yeah. So, Brooke and Bethany.
Too.
Yeah. So a lot of people do that schedule blocking, which I feel like, I need to make sure I keep up with in order to be consistent with my writerly goals. This will increase my productivity and make sure that I'm going, in the right direction, that I'm on the right track.
So I'm going to explain my top theme, which is futuristic. And so people with the futuristic theme are inspired by the future and what could be. They energize others with their visions of the future. And I was like, this is me because my mind and body are always in the future. I am never in the present moment. And that was something, it's bad, it's so bad, but that's something I've been trying to work on is being in the present moment.
It's not bad, it's your strength.
Right, it's a strength.
Well, yeah.
But that was something I was trying to work on last year in the fall. I was trying to work on being in the present moment because I was always thinking about, well, I should be writing, I want to be writing, I want to be an author, all this stuff. So I was like, yeah, this sounds like me. But the paragraph kind of explains that we like to map our paths towards our long-term goals. We create orderly and detailed tactics to secure objectives. We're energized by what we can accomplish. Driven by your talents, you forge ahead to build the life you envision. And then you may generate numerous ways to revise or enhance these action plans. So I was like, oh my God, this is totally me. I have my vision, I want to be an author and I want my books to be published. And so I thought this was really cool because I'm like, yeah, this is spot on. And so I'm like, okay, well, how can I dig deeper into applying this into my writerly life? And so I know I have this vision for the future. And if you guys have been following me on YouTube for a while, you know that I come out with my quarterly goals. But I realized that I could, kind of have a longer term vision. I can't just go from all right, I'm going to be querying to all right, now I'm a full-time author and I'm making money off of my writing. And it's okay, I missed a couple steps here. So what I'm going to do now, because I know this is a strength, is I'm going to specifically plan out when my goals are going, when I want my goals to be met and what I want those goals to be. And so I can kind of break down my quarterly goals into smaller goals, and then I can expand my quarterly goals into larger goals. And the other thing I liked about this was they also said that you sharpen your ideas about the future by spending time with possibility thinkers. And then these individuals may talk about inventions, designs, technologies that no one else has ever considered. And this immediately made me think of the mastermind group that I'm a part of, a couple writers and author tubers that I get together with every Wednesday, and we talk about our different writerly projects or entrepreneurial products that we're working on, and we kind of collaborate and brainstorm on things. And so I was like, okay, I'm really glad that I'm a part of this group, because I think this is really good for me, because it's helping me to help expand my ideas and help carve that path for the future, since that's, where my line of vision is.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's interesting, like my next 3 strengths, I'm kind of lumping all into one. They're all kind of different, but they all kind of go along the same lines. So the next 3 was consistency, which is just craving stable routines and procedures, and then focus. You take a direction, follow through, and make the corrections necessary to stay on track. You prioritize and then act. And then the last one is discipline, which you enjoy routine and structure. Your world is best described by the order you create. And so I'm like, this is like, they're just all tied into each other, like discipline, focus, consistency. It's all tied into one. And I realized that is my thing, is having structure and having a routine. And so that's why I have my planner. And so I try to organize my days, but I realized that like, okay, 3 of my strengths kind of all revolve around like having a stable routine. And I'm not always best with like keeping track of that stable routine and making sure that I have that set in place. So especially on the weekends, or if I have a day off, like I just want to relax and chill, but then I also want to get things done. And so I'm kind of at a conflict with myself. But so I realized like, okay, well, if I can set a routine, have that discipline and structure and be consistent with that, then that will help me focus. So it's interesting to see how all of these strengths kind of like weave, amongst themselves, and they all help strengthen each other if you keep building those up. So a couple things from the paragraphs that they go into further detail about the different themes. So like focus, you need a clear destination, the future, holla. And so each year, each month, even each week, you set goals. They become a compass that helps you determine priorities and make the necessary corrections to get back on course, which is also kind of tied into the discipline, which your world needs to be predictable. It needs to be ordered and planned. You focus on timelines and deadlines. And then that also ties into the focus, where you're prioritizing, then acting, and you have strong power of concentration. So I know as long as I set my writing routine. So I've kind of fallen off of that. I know I'm kind of in this weird limbo with working on like, the Happy Balanced Writer workbook, and then, not working on like a writing project and kind of querying and doing all these other things, kind of side things that isn't like working on like a whip. Then it's kind of thrown off my routine. But I know like when I wake up in the morning and I am doing that consistently, like I'm like, okay, I'm waking up in the morning, I'm going to Panera, and I'm writing for an hour before work. And like that worked for me, but I've fallen off of that. So it's me realizing that that is a strength of mine, and then being able to implement that.
Yeah, because I think it's really cool because, futuristic is your top one, but you need your other strengths, because if you're always thinking about the future, but you don't have actually a good plan to get there, then you're not going to get there. You're just only going to be thinking about it.
Exactly. Exactly.
And so you need to use the other strengths to, you need to put them all together.
Right, exactly. I need that action plan. And then I will talk about my last strength, which is positivity, because that is when all of the other 4 strengths kind of start to fall apart. So if I'm falling into a writing rut, if I am stuck on a plot hole, or I've just got like real life going on and I'm just so busy and I just end up not writing, or like a lot of times I get really overwhelmed with editing, especially developmental edits. And so like all of those things, like because all of those 4 strengths are so closely connected, like if something happens to set off my routine, if like, oh, I don't get my writing in one day, or, something comes up and then my schedule gets off balance, then I freak out and I just like lose it. But I've got my 5th top strength to help pull everything back together, and that one is positivity. And if you know me, you know that I am, that's me, I'm positive. So I'm generous with praise, quick to smile, always on the lookout for the positive in a situation. I celebrate every achievement. No matter what the setbacks, you must never lose your sense of humor. So, oh, I didn't see the humor part, I guess, maybe. I don't know, I'll be like, oh, I'm losing here, this is fun.
Yeah, but it's really cool because it shows like this assessment is pretty legit, because I think all of these things you can say, yeah, those are Holly's strengths, and you know, for me, I believed all of these for myself too. And one of the things that I think is really cool is if you do want to invest a little bit more, I forget how much it costs, but you can pay a little bit extra and get the full report of all 34 strengths in order, which I thought is really cool because it's not, even the 34th one is still a strength, it's just a lower strength. And so if you do want to keep moving forward, then this Gallup, or whoever this is, so then this group, they basically say, okay, once you've focused on your top 5, if you want to keep going, you can, and you can look at what's number 6, what's number 7. So after you have that all together, you can then pull in your other strengths to try to make them stronger versus, you know, because they're all a strength, but in different ways. And so
that's why, because number 6 for you is futuristic.
Yeah, so I did do that, and number 6 is futuristic, and I said, oh, okay, that makes sense. So it's really cool to kind of see what other ones are sort of quote unquote near the top as well.
Yeah, and I didn't do that, so I'm like, I might have to do that now.
Yeah, but you definitely don't have to. You know, 7 is empathy, 8 is achiever. It goes on and on and on. So I feel like this is just a really cool way to identify your strengths versus just you thinking about it or asking, you know, your significant other, your friends, like, you know, what are my strengths? Yeah. And maybe something surprising will come out, and then maybe that'll help you with an area where you've been struggling lately with your writerly life. And so hopefully, we're hoping that this will help you guys, because I feel like it's going to help me. So
yeah, and I think like too, it might bring out somewhere where you think is a weakness, or like you're not necessarily seeing it as a strength, realizing that, because I knew I liked routine, I liked being productive, and then I always have my goals and my vision for the future. But then, you know, and then sometimes I would see that as kind of a bad thing. Oh, I'm always so, you know, like structured and nitpicky and, you know, like focused on my goals and all this stuff. But it's like, well, wait, that's a strength. This is a good thing. And so I can turn it around to be something positive.
Yeah, you're driven, you're getting stuff done.
So. Exactly.
You endure.
Yes. So yeah, so we definitely recommend if you do this test, definitely share with us what your top strengths are. We would really love to know. Please tag us wherever you are sharing it on social media. And then also please make sure that you're actually like printing it out and kind of doing what we did. So we just kind of highlighted, you know, the sentences in the paragraphs that like really spoke to us. And then we also wrote down how we were going to apply it to our lives, to our writerly lives. So you want to be deliberate in how you're going to apply these strengths to your writer life.
Also, we noticed that the Arizona sun, I'm like super tan compared to hot.
And I'm not tan. I need some Arizona sun.
We keep doing these collabs in Chicago when it's like raining today. It's like gross. Super cloudy and it's been cold.
It's super gross.
I promise we'll have a collab in AZ again soon.
Yes, yes. All right, you guys, so that's it for this video. We hope that you found this helpful to hear about how we applied our strengths to our writer life. Please let us know in the comments down below if you've taken this test, if you know a couple of strengths of yours, and if you're going to take the test. Please give this video a big thumbs up and click subscribe to support my channel, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!